Hello and welcome. Oh, it's a bit dark, isn't it? Hello and welcome to Breaking Fast. Now, there wasn't going to be a Breaking Fast today because actually I should be in another meeting. I've already been in one and I should be in another one. But I didn't tell them I was going to be late because I thought, well, actually, no, it is Lent. And my first obligation, of course, is to Christ and to the church. And I've made a commitment re these broadcasts. So it won't be a long episode. Just really to show you the stational church for today, which is Santa Pudenciana, which is recognized as the oldest place of Christian worship in Rome. So, without further ado, so this basilica was erected over a 2nd century house, probably during the pontificate of Pius I in AD 140 to 155, reusing part of a Roman bath facility, which is still visible in the structure of the apse. And the structure was the residence of the Pope until 313 AD, when Emperor Constantine offered the Lateran Palace in its stead. In the 4th century, during the pontificate of Siricius, the building was transformed into a basilica. In the Acts of the Synod of 499 AD, the building bore the Titulus Pudentis, indicating that the administration of the sacraments was permitted there. This, of course, was one of the original 25 parishes of Rome. The basilica is situated below the modern street level, and entrance is through wrought iron gates. Steps were added in the 19th century and descend to a square courtyard. The architrave of the entrance hall of the faded facade dates from 1870. There you can see the steps going down into the courtyard. And the facade, 1870, has a marble frieze that used to belong to a portal of the 11th century, which is a significant work of medieval sculpture in Rome. The Romanesque bell tower that we saw earlier was added in the early 13th century. Now here we are in the interior. The mosaic in the apse, which we got a glimpse of and hopefully we'll see some more of in a moment, is from late antiquity, from around the end of the 4th century, and is regarded by various scholars as dating to either the pontificate of Pope Siricius, 384 to 399, or of Innocent I, 401 to 417, and it was heavily restored in the 16th century. It's among the oldest Christian mosaics in Rome, and one of the most striking mosaics outside of Ravenna, deemed the most beautiful mosaic in Rome by the 19th century historian Ferdinand Gregorovius. Now the mosaic, there it is remarkable for its iconography. Christ is represented as a human figure rather than as a symbol, such as a lamb or the Good Shepherd, as he was in very early Christian images. The regal nature of this representation prefigures the majestic bearing of Christ as depicted in Byzantine mosaics. Christ sits on a jewel-encrusted throne, wearing a golden toga with a purple trim, a sign of imperial authority and emphasizing the authority of Christ and his church. And he poses as a classical Roman teacher with his right hand extended. Christ wears a halo and holds in his left hand the text, Dominus conservator ecclesiae Pudentianae. The Lord is the preserver of the Church of Pudentiana. He sits among his apostles, 2 of whom were removed during the Restoration. The apostles wear senatorial togas. They all have individual expressions and face the spectator. The lower part of the mosaic was removed during the Restoration in the late 16th century. The depictions of the apostles on the right side have been lost in the course of time and have been replaced by new but rather blank mosaics. Two female figures representing the church and synagogue hold a wreath above the head of St. Peter and Paul. Above them, the roofs and domes of heavenly Jerusalem are depicted, and above Christ stands a large jewel-encrusted cross on a hill as a sign of the triumph of Christ amidst the symbols of the four evangelists. These iconographic symbols, angel, lion, ox, and eagle, are the oldest still existing such representations of the evangelists. Now, the Peter Chapel on the left side of the apse contains a part of the table at which St. Peter would have held the celebration of the Eucharist in the house of St. Pudens. The rest of the table is embedded in the papal altar at St. John Lateran. The sculpture on the altar depicts Christ delivering the keys of heaven to St. Peter by the architect and sculptor Giacomo della Porta. In the same chapel there are two bronze slabs in the wall explaining that here St. Peter was given hospitality and that St. Peter offered for the first time in Rome bread and wine as a consecration of the Eucharist. The pavement itself is ancient, and a door opens into a court aisle with a small chapel that contains frescoes from the 11th century. The Chaitani Chapel was built for the Chaitani family, the family of Pope Boniface VIII, in 1588. There we go. So that was a little bit about today's stational church, Santa Pudenziana, there in Rome. Now, I really must get off to my next meeting. So bless you for watching. Remember that at 6 o'clock tonight we will broadcast the Angelus, but there isn't a recitation of the Rosary tonight. I'm sorry, I said there was yesterday. I forgot that it was Tuesday today, and that's because after the meeting I'm going to now, I've got another meeting, which means I won't be able to recite the Rosary. So please, as before, and as we heard, some of you did. Still, perhaps, if you would, of your charity, recite the Rosary during that hour as we normally would together. And please pray for me, if you would. Otherwise, tonight, of course, at 10 o'clock, as usual, the Daily Examen. And everything resumes again tomorrow with the 8:30 Mass. So, until later, take care. Look after yourselves, look after others. Remember that God loves you, and we will see you soon.